Well, good morning and welcome to another edition of the House Whisperer Show right here at WWDB Talk 860. Stay tuned for expert advice about maintaining your house from the roof to the basement and everything in between. Featuring professional home inspector Jack Milne, who tells us that every house has a story. He knows all the stories too. How you doing today, Jack?
Yeah, I'm great, Barry. I love the show on Sundays. It's had a great hour for me. You know, people are awake. You know, they've been past their first or second, maybe even third cup of coffee, and now they can kind of sit back and relax a little bit. So here we are, almost at the Ides of October. And I know, I'm getting out of bed at 6 o'clock, 6:15, and man, it is dark.
It sure is.
It's getting darker a little bit earlier now every night, too. So we're going to be in the dead of winter here real soon. But always I like Sunday at 11 because at least the sun is out and, the day is crisp. Today's show, I'm really, dedicating it back to my listeners, and I call it the revisit of the email box. And I was looking through my last notes, Barry. I think it's been since February that we actually dedicated a show to the listeners. So here we go with volume number 4, actually. So before we kick in, I do want to thank the sponsors because without them I wouldn't have the benefit of talking to you today. So we're going to start with Burrow Exterminating out of Glenolden, Pennsylvania. Their phone number is 610-586-5640. Once again, a third generation wood destroying insect company, and they also do radon testing. So, and they do work their way into Montgomery County, folks. So it's not only Delaware County, but it's also Chester, Montgomery, and Philadelphia. So reach out to them. They're just a beautiful group of individuals to work with. Buxmont Inspections, they do on-site sewage evaluations. So for those of you who are in the country, if you have any questions regarding your on-site sewage system, or if you live in the burbs, you have one of those macerators or pump up, I guess you call it. It's kind of a weird segment of words, but if you have a toilet in the basement and you have to pump the waste up to your waistline, there we go. Reach out to these folks and get a pump alarm. It's 215-669-4213. I guess, Barry, I got to wait for my coffee to kick in a little bit, too, here. Pest Blaster, they do radon testing, mold testing, wood-destroying insect evaluations, as well as pest removal. And as the seasons get colder, folks, these little guys, be it rodents or squirrels or any type of little critter, may want to work their way into your home. So if you sense that this is happening in your own house, act quick. 215-295-5555. BrainFlushGear.com, another eclectic clothing company. They can do anything you want for yourself or for your group. So BrainFlushGear.com is truly as simple as that. But their email, if necessary, is contact@BrainFlushGear.com. And, of course, Tri-County Inspection Company. I started Tri-County in 1985. We've conducted well over 72,000 property evaluations. Phone numbers, we vary because we're so spread out, but local numbers for us here in the Bucks-Montgomery County area is 215-295-2030. Delaware County, 610-296-2004. Lehigh Valley, if you live up in that direction, 610-346-7880, and South Jersey, 856-853-4224. So, as I always like to say, please thank the sponsors and please let them know that you heard their ads on the House Whisperer Show. So, today we usually jump right into the email box, but today we're going to forego that due to today's topic. But please email me at thehousewhisperershow@gmail.com. You can always visit previous shows at thehousewhisperershow.com. And, of course, 24/7 until next week, podcasts are always available at www.dbam.com. So let's hit it. First question's from Ryan, and Ryan's from Manayunk. Jack, my 100-year-old home has radiators. I have oil heat, winter's around the corner. What should I do first? Well, Ryan, the first thing you want to do is call your oil supplier now. October's the time to get your radiators bled and get your heating equipment up to the maximum efficiency of which you can. This is going to be a cold winter, folks, and that, I've heard that since last year. So I'd rather you be prepared, Ryan, than be behind the eight ball a little bit. The second thing I would do is call Pico, and I would see if there's a gas line along your street. Older homes, of course, especially in Manayunk, were initially heated by coal, and then they went to oil. So, Ryan, I've got to imagine your boiler is probably 40 to 60 years old, and your efficiencies, you might be blessed at maybe 65 to 70%, even when it's fine-tuned. So I would see if there's a gas line. And then if there is, please take full advantage of it. And because you can utilize this gas line for cooking, drying your clothes, and of course have a 96 efficient furnace and a high efficient water heater. And that way you're not going to be spending $1,300 maybe once a month for oil. So that's the second thing I would do. Now, if you contact Pico, sometimes they do offer contracts that allow you up to 2 years to tie in. But I have to tell you, the city and the burbs are different. But phone calls are free. So, Ryan, my opinion is at the end of the day, switch your boiler to high-efficient gas, and again, do your water heater at the same time. This will save you money, and it also will possibly get rid of your chimney, too. So 70% efficient versus 96% efficient, actually, we all win. And within a couple years, Ryan, that new boiler will be paid off, and then it's free after that. So, Ryan, thanks for the question. Susan is up next, and Susan's from Warrington. Her question is, Jack, we just bought a 50-year-old split level with 50-year-old shrubs. Is it too late to tear them out and start again? Well, Susan, my opinion here it is, it's mid-October. You better start digging now. Okay? If you need to, borrow a pickup truck with a heavy chain and pull the old growth out. And since you're starting fresh, what you may want to do is plan accordingly with colors that are up for spring, summer, and fall. If you're thinking of any hedgerows, please plant them a minimum of 3 feet, maybe 4 feet away from the home so that they can grow full. But I wouldn't let them go any more than 2.5 to 3 feet tall. And please, Susan, if you're considering any trees, please keep them shallow rooted and at least 8 to 10 feet off the corner. So, you don't want to block your air conditioning unit. I always tell clients when you're adding fresh plants, be sure to add peat moss. And I always like to use what we call a 10-10-10 fertilizer, and that's available at the depots or Lowe's, maybe about $15 a bag. Peat moss, you get, I call them cubes, and they're about $5 a piece. And so after you dig your hole, throw some peat moss in the bottom of it, throw it around, mix it in with your dirt as you put it around your root ball. And then with the 10-10-10, think of salt and pepper. So you don't want to go heavy with it, but just use your fingers and just put it around the base, not of the ball, but what we call the drip portion of the shrub leaf. So you might be putting this fertilizer maybe 6 to 8, maybe even 10 inches around a small plant, but if you're planting a Japanese maple, you may be putting that 10-10-10 maybe 2 to 3 feet away from the root ball. So you don't want to put it over the root ball. It might burn the roots out, and then again, keep it light. So fall is truly a great time for planting. I wouldn't wait until November, December, because right now the sap is flowing from these trees and bushes now. When it's too cold, it's too late. So, Susan, thank you for the question and happy planting. So, Barry, why don't we take a quick break? And then we're going to come back, and we're going to hear from Sean from Willow Grove.
It sounds good to me. We will be back with Jack Milne, the House Whisperer, right after this with more from the Magic Mailbox.
Oro Exterminating has been specializing in wood-destroying insect inspection and control for over 40 years, serving Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. All inspectors are state certified and ensure providing their clients with professional inspections and treatments. Boro not only performs conventional termite treatments, but also handles special services like historic buildings and homes with wells, creeks, or ponds. The client is assured that all treatments will be performed safely when you hire Boro to do the work. They also provide radon testing in their service area. Boro's full-time office staff is available to help you schedule an appointment. Just call 610-586-5640 or send an email request to boroinspects@verizon.net. That's 610-586-5640 or email at boroinspects@verizon.net.
Specially created t-shirts by BrainFlushGear.com offer the extreme sports enthusiast an opportunity to have a clothing line available that suits their sport. BrainFlushGear.com understands that when we get the moment where we can jump on our motorcycles, wave runners, surfboards, snowmobiles, or skateboards, it can be priceless. They offer custom artwork including silk screening, transfers, and embroidery. Speak to one of their consultants today and they'll help you create your own Brain Flush. Visit BrainFlushGear.com or email them at contact@BrainFlushGear.com.
For your septic inspection and testing needs, please consider Bucksmont Inspections. They've been serving the Bucks and Montgomery County areas for over 15 years. As members of the Pennsylvania Septic Management Association, the Pennsylvania Association of Sewage Enforcement Officers, and the Pennsylvania Association for Professional Soil Scientists, Bucksmont Inspections can inspect your existing septic system or test for your new septic system placement. Please call Rob Bowie at 215-669-4213 and say you heard their ad on the House Whisperers show.
As the weather gets cooler and the temperatures drop, the bugs might slow down, but the rodents don't stop. Mice and rats begin to invade homes during the fall and winter months, looking for food, warmth, and a comfortable place to nest. Don't wait for pesky rodents to invade your home. Fight back. Have your home baited and ready for their attack with Pest Blaster. Whether preventative or a full-blown infestation, give Pest Blaster a call at 215-295-5555 and they can discuss the solution to your problem. They also offer humane animal removal services for a wide variety of wild animals, damage repairs, and cleanups. Call them today at 215-295-5555 or check them out at pestblaster.com, servicing both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Pest Blaster, 215-295-5555 or pestblaster.com for all your pest control needs.
Tri-County Inspection Company has been providing professional home inspections, commercial inspections, and historic property evaluations for over 25 years. Tri-County Inspection Company covers 13 counties, serving both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. They've performed inspections for over 70,000 clients and are members of the American Society of Home Inspectors, as well as the Pennsylvania Home Inspectors Coalition. They are licensed in both Philadelphia and New Jersey. For all of your real estate transactions, call Tri-County Inspections at 215-295-2030. For their New Jersey clientele, call 856-853-4224. In PA, call 215-295-2030. In New Jersey, 856-853-4224.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house.
And we're back with Jack Milne, the House Whisperer at WWDB Talk 860. And Jack is digging into the mailbox today. And Jack, what's next on the agenda?
Well, thank you, Barry. Yeah, every once in a while I get these emails, and it's nice to just gather a bunch of them. And what I find is that if Susan had a question about shrubbery, chances are somebody out there who's listening has the same question. So please, this is everybody's show. And if you want me to answer any questions, you can always email me at thehousewhispershow@gmail.com. And as I like to say for previous episodes, visit the website website. It's awesome. It's got well over 100 shows at this point at thehousewhispershow.com. And, of course, I love the podcast, Barry, which is 24/7 at www.dbam.com. So my next question is from Sean from Willow Grove. Jack, I have upgraded my windows, and they come with screen panels. Should I take them out for the winter to protect them? And Sean, that's a great question. I love the question because as a home inspector, most realtors advise sellers to remove the screens when showing their homes, regardless of the season, because it's supposed to allow unfiltered lighting into the home, and this way it gives a cleaner appearance. As for buyers, I consult them to verify the count of missing screens to make sure that they're all available. But I also advise that typically there are not screens for the garage windows because it's not a living space. So if they are found to be missing, costs start about $40 and go up, depending on the size of the window. And in my opinion, Sean, I would keep the screens in all year round because they do protect the frame, what we call the sash of the window, from the weather. And we get all four seasons. That's why I really enjoy living here. But we do get full winter. We get spring. We get summer. We get fall. And, over 15 to 20 years, you might actually have to rescreen the windows, but think of it this way. You saved your roughly $200 to $500 replacement window. So screens stop about 80% of the moisture against the frame and the glass of the sash. So, Sean, my opinion, keep the screens in and protect your new investment. So, Sean, thanks for the question. Next up is Carol. Carol, let's see. She goes, Jack, I live in a 60-year-old row home. My 100-amp service is worn out. I had an electrician quote me for an upgrade to 200 amps. And he quoted me roughly $1,500 to $1,800. Do I need this? I've got 2 kids and money's tight, so thanks for the help. Well, Carol, if your home is 60 years old, chances are all your major appliances are fed by gas, be it the heating equipment, hot water, cooking, and drying of clothes. Typically, the largest appliance would be a central air conditioning system, which would draw about 25 to 40 amps. And, of course, if you have an electric dryer, that's going to draw 30 amps. But a 100-amp service typically will allow 300 amps in a panel. And that's a very rough estimate. But I think it's a fairly good guideline, Carol. So my suggestion is this. Older panels generally have fewer breakers. Thus, you cannot grow any further. If you count your existing breakers and see how many slots you have or don't have, a 100-amp service can support a 30-space breaker box. Now, the cost for the upgrade of a 100-amp service, just the cable, is about $400 to $500. And that's, I haven't seen your house, Carol, but that's a pretty close guesstimate. The panel may be an additional $300 to $400. So this may be about half of what your electrician may be charging for a 200-amp service. A trade-off could be a 150-amp service, but I don't know if it's still worth an additional $400 to $500 more on that investment. So, Carol, good luck, and thanks for your questions. Of course, email me if you have any further thoughts. Coming up next is Paul, and Paul's from New Hope. And his question really intrigued me, and that's why I wanted to include it today. His question is, my partner and I bought a contemporary home off the beaten path, and I have a well, a geothermal heat pump, and a sand mound. We both came from New York and are settling in. I understand there have been a few power outages in the area, and we're thinking of a generator. What's your thoughts? And, Paul, I can answer your question in a statement. Paul, my thought is buy one now. Now, I will elaborate, Paul, a little bit further on that. Again, here it is mid-October. Daylight savings time is literally around the corner. I think, Barry, it's another maybe 2 weeks away.
Just about. It's getting closer.
Yeah, I think now they allow Halloween, and then it's the weekend after Halloween for child safety. But I can tell you, Paul, that living in the Bucks County area, particularly the further north you go, there's a higher chance of power loss. And there's multiple reasons for that. If you're off the beaten path, the reason they call it the beaten path is because you probably live amongst the trees. And if you live amongst the trees, chances are that the power that's being delivered to your home is carried via wires and telephone poles. So after Hurricane Sandy, being an avid motorcyclist, I had a chance to run through the upper stretches of Upper Bucks County, and there were trees that were just sent over like matchsticks. It was just incredible. So, Paul, if you are out there in the boonies, by all means, I would suggest that you get a generator. The other thing that I find is that without the benefit of a generator, you and your partner are going to be in the dark. I mean, literally and figuratively. You're going to be without water. You're going to be without heat. You're going to be without simple basics like flushing the toilet, cooking. And my suggestion would be is you're probably going to have to put in a reservation early at one of the local hotels because they really do book quick when everyone is out of power. And particularly with the grid today, nobody knows when the power may come back on. And I think we all learned that with Sandy. But I do know this, and I've learned a lot since that hurricane. Those that are on the outskirts are dead last to be satisfied. The first thing that the utility companies have to do is get the police departments up and running, the hospitals up and running, and any other emergency services. Coming next will be cluster communities. Because they have the most people. And those, again, who live on the outskirts are always the last because think of the trees that when they fall on the power lines that cut the power and they block the roads for emergency crews, they have to clear the roads before they can clear the lines to people's homes. Now, think about snow. If there's snow involved, Paul, forget it. You could literally be days, and I know some of my friends who live in the upper reaches of Bucks County were out for over 2 weeks with Sandy. So, Paul, my strong suggestion is buy a generator that can either satisfy very basic needs. For example, if you have a sump pump or a refrigerator, I'm sure you do, heating, some basic lighting. But remember, the very basic generator is going to need a gas can. And another thing we've found about Sandy is that a lot of gas stations were shut down. So you can run around all day trying to find gas, and the gas stations are closed. Very few have generators to keep their pumps up and running. So if you think that you can run a generator for 8 hours on a 5-gallon can, that's about it. So if there's 3 8-hour segments in a 24-hour day, that means, Paul, you're going to be filling that gas can or that generator, 3 times a day. So that's a lot of running back and forth. And again, if you tell me as it is, you're living out in the boonies, the gas station may not be around the corner either. So my thought is I would suggest for you and your partner a full house generator so that every receptacle, every switch, every pump that you require to run your home, be it the heating, be it the on-site sewage, will perform. And although it's going to run you, quite a few, several $1,000s, probably, Paul, you're looking maybe $10,000 to $12,000. I don't know the size of your home. I would say the cheapest would be $8,000. It would be well worth it. The other thing that you should do is, of course, utilize propane to generate the power you require for that generator. I know when I bought mine, I got two 100-gallon tanks, which allow my house to run 24/7 for 10 straight days. And it's really easy to make a phone call and get refueled if you need to. And today's propane tanks are pretty cool. They have a gas gauge on them, just like your car does. So you can always monitor how much fuel is being used on a daily basis, or I'd be checking at least every 2 days if you are out of power. I would also suggest that you get an estimate, because I love estimates, because estimates are free. But you can also think about maybe using propane for some of your other appliances in your home. I'm a big propane fan for cooking and drying and water heating, etc. It also could allow you to maybe update that geothermal heat pump. I understand they are efficient, but they require a lot of pumps and 24-hour operation. So you may want to think about at some point, depending on the age of your equipment, is updating to high-efficient propane, which is 96%. My opinion is, get the quote, it's going to take probably at least 2 to 3 weeks to have a generator land on your door. Step, you can even consider buying your generator out of town. I saved considerable funds when I did mine. So we shop the internet a little bit. You also want to make sure that your contractor is well versed with the installation and operation and maintenance of that generator. Mine kicks on every Friday, actually, at 6 o'clock. It runs till 6:12. It's a weekly exercise for the generator, Paul. And I'll tell you what, the beauty of it is that you're in the dark for less than a minute, and you don't even know when it turns off because your power transfer is so automatic. You know, folks, the moral of this story is email me. I will try to put as many of these little letters on the air. I think they help everybody. And I really want you to tune in next week because we're going to talk about this term called egress. And as we're going to start to button up our homes for the winter, egress is all about fire safety. So as it is Sunday, as I always like to say, Barry, please spend time with friends and family. And I'll see you next week on the House Whisperer Show.
Always good to hear from Jack Milne. And let me invite everybody to tune in again next week for another edition of the House Whisperer Show with professional home inspector Jack Milne. And to listen to previous programs, or if you have any questions, visit thehousewhisperershow.com. This is Barry Reisman. Thanks for listening to WWDB.
Life used to be so